one thing is just apply, like, because I feel like immediately people hear about the acceptance rate, they're like, even I.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're welcome to another episode of the interview series. And today with me, I have Sumi.
Yes, hi.
Welcome,
Thank
Sumi.
you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And guys, as usual, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And if you're new here, my name is Aladi-Ada Akoh. Sumi, you're welcome.
My name is Sumi. I am originally from Nigeria. I came to the US here when like 6 years ago, I guess, and I came to San Francisco. I attended this university called Minerva University. It's a 4-year liberal arts college based here in San Francisco, but then we also travel the world as part of the college. And over the past like 2 years, I've been working as a researcher, and in the fall, I'm going to start my PhD in Cornell. So yeah, that's me. I reached out because I just really wanted to share about Minerva University. Just because I feel like Minerva University is kind of like an ideal university for international students. So the first reason is because it's unlike other colleges in the sense that there is no quota on like the number of people the school can accept. Like if you meet the bar for like enrollment, everybody is accepted and it doesn't matter your nationality. So in my class, for example, my cohorts, I graduated in 2021. My cohorts, about 80% of the students were international students and only 20 were US citizens. And it's not like it's a really good school too. Like I felt like the education wasn't lacking in any way. Like nothing was really lacking. And also with the admissions too, I feel like it's a little bit easier because they don't require SATs. They don't require any standardized tests. Yeah. So the school actually has its own test that it gives you. We call these like challenges. So like if you like sign up on the website and like you try to go to like start the admissions process, there are these like little tests. They are kind of like IQ tests, sort of, but not exactly. So there are these like little activities. Honestly, they are fun to do. Like one day I just randomly decided that, oh, I'll just start this. And then I did the activities. Some of them are like writing challenges. So they'll like give you a passage and they're like, oh, what does this mean? Some of them are more like just like, for example, there's one activity in the admissions process where they give you an item. I think in my class it was a bag, and they're like, list all the ways you could use this bag, and they time you. So those are the types of activities that are part of the admissions process. And yeah, there's also no application fee. So honestly, you have nothing to lose really by applying. It's just the point. And the school also gives like amazing financial aid. Like I was mentioning this before, but yeah, like you only have to pay what you can afford. The financial aid isn't completely perfect. Like some people still felt like they were paying slightly more than they could afford, but honestly it's really amazing. I was like, some people paid as little as like $500, and it was honestly really great. Yeah, I didn't pay that little, but still, like it's really just depends. Once you provide your documentation, yeah, the school just says, okay, whatever you cannot afford, we'll pay. But it is there, like typically you do get student loans along with that, but it's also capped at like $20 of student loans. That's the maximum you get. And then they also give you work study. So you have a job to help you pay. So it's not completely free money, but still it's like, it really does help. And the only like, I guess, downside is that the acceptance rate is still really low. Like I think it's like 2%. So you still have to do well. Yeah, but I feel like it's possible. Like if I could get in, like anybody, I don't know. I don't think I'm like some genius by any means. So I feel like it's doable. Oh, and you need letters of recommendation as well in the application process. But yeah.
Oh, so letters of recommendation, like from who?
Oh yeah, so you needed one from like your counselor, your guidance counselor in your school, or like student counselor. And then you also need, I think, 2 from teachers. But I think this is actually normal for like all like undergrad colleges in the US.
I didn't know that undergrad had recommendation letters requirement.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then 2% is like the acceptance rate to the uni.
Yeah, so it is really low. Yeah. But I honestly feel like the main thing that they look for, because they don't ask for SATs, I think they're just looking to see that you're a creative person, like that your brain can work like potentially creatively. But there's also this section where they like allow you to share your achievements, and they want you to share like, so sort of like your resume, but they're like, tell us about you, like what do you consider? And they don't even limit it. They're like, it doesn't have to be academic. They just want to see also that you can solve problems, because I think that's a big part of the school. Like they want students who like want to make a difference in the world. So if you can frame whatever it is that you're saying, like I remember one of the main things that I wrote when I was like applying in my achievement section was, so I'm a Christian and like I grew up in Nigeria. And one thing was when I was trying to read the Bible, I was like, oh, I don't really understand this. So I was like, maybe can I like write a book that is sort of the Bible, but I'll phrase it as like someone's diary. I don't know how to explain it, but for example, like, oh, I was like, oh, this is Adam. This is the way I wanted to make the Bible understandable for kids. So really, yeah, I wrote this book that was like the diary of different Bible characters. And that was one of the things I shared as my achievements. But they saw it as like, oh, she's trying to solve a problem. She saw a problem. She's trying to solve it. So as long as you can include things like that, I feel like that's what the school wants. And yeah, I feel like your chances are higher. And of course, grades, you submit your transcript too. But I don't even think my high school grades were anything fantastic. So yeah, I feel like it's possible.
Wow. Okay. And you already mention that there is no application fee? Because I
Oh
know.
yeah, I think I mentioned, but yeah, there's no application fee. I mean, so it doesn't hurt to like apply. Yeah.
Okay. So like the work study thing you were talking about, what kind of work you guys do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in my first year, I was a resident assistant. That was like my job. So just like I was in charge of making sure that students were obeying the rules, no alcohol in the dorms, things like that. I was in charge of like putting on activities. But honestly, it depends. The latter few years of like my time there, I was a teaching assistant. So I worked with professors. I like helped grade classes sometimes. Sometimes I held office hours for students. Let me see. Some other people are also admissions processors. That's like a popular work study that people have. So they like help read incoming students' applications. So yeah, and I think I think it's capped at like 10 hours per week. That's the like, so it's honestly it's not a big burden really. Like and you still get money, they pay you. So yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a good deal.
So I will say that the university is also kind of unique in like the structure, not just the application process. So first of all, the main reason why the university was founded, it was founded by this guy named Ben Nelson. It was his like senior project when he was graduating from University of Pennsylvania, and he was trying to just he said really the way that we learn regularly in like colleges, in many colleges, is through these like lecture style videos. And he was saying, for one, research just shows that that isn't the best way to learn. Like most people learn through, you need like active learning. So you need to be asked questions. You need to like be tested regularly. So that was one aspect that he brought in when he created this university, Minerva. So the way it works is like, for one, in our classes, we're only 18 people maximum in a class, and the classes are all seminar style classes. So you're constantly like called on by professors. You're asked questions. At the beginning of the class, you're given like a poll to answer. It's kind of complicated to explain, but yeah, in general, you're just like super active in the class. So that's one way it's different. It definitely took me a while to get used to at the beginning, because I was like, okay, I just wanted to sit down and listen to the professor. But no, this one, you have to engage very actively. And so that's one way it's different. But the second way, which I mentioned earlier, is we call it the global rotation. So I did my first year here in San Francisco, but after that, I traveled to South Korea, to Argentina, to Germany, I didn't get to go because of COVID, but the other places would have been to Taiwan and to London. And the rationale for this is supposed to be that you can, which I mentioned, like the school is really particular about like training the next generation of leaders, like people who can problem solve, and I don't know, yeah. So they're like, you can't change the world unless you see the world. So that's part of why we would always travel. So we would spend one semester in each of these places. So I spent like one of my semesters in South Korea, and yeah, just like engaged with the city, got to learn about the different people. So yeah, that was one way it's unique.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. The school funds the travel?
Yeah, that's it. So that's actually a good question. And that's something to keep in mind, because the school doesn't. Typically, I use like money from my work study to like help, money that I earned from like my job to like pay off, or people have their parents pay for like the flights. But the school takes care of your housing and everything in the city once you go there. Yeah, it's just your flights that you have to pay for yourself. So yeah, or most times I also worked during the summer in between like school years. So yeah, I would just use money that I'd saved up to pay for the flights.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. If it's just the flight, then that's.
Yeah, it's, oh yeah, housing is paid for, everything else is paid for.
What would you say was your favorite thing about the school, or like your experience, your undergrad memorable experience, or like something that really stuck with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, there were so many. I think traveling, of course, was really fantastic. Like when I left Nigeria, that was my first time really leaving like Africa as a whole, like the continent. So I feel like getting to travel to these different places, I really did feel like my brain like expanded multiple times. I just felt like, yeah, getting to interact with different people, learning about different cultures. I was like, wow, I felt like it was so useful. Something else is like I mentioned, the majority of my classmates were also international students. So it was just I felt like I was also constantly learning about different cultures just through like my classmates. So Minerva does this thing as well called 1001s. And a 1001, it's just like a student event that they held. It was Sunday nights at 10:01 p.m., which is why it's called 1001s. And each Sunday was a different culture, someone from a different culture. They would just like put on a PowerPoint presentation, share about their like culture, share their food with us. So like Nigerians did one, for example, and like we made suya and jollof rice and like we shared. So things like that. I feel like those were always memorable in my head. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And about the travel, I think I just remember something. Is it compulsory to participate in the travel?
So it's not like extremely forced, but it's like highly recommended. So you have to go through some document, like you have to go through some processes if you don't want to travel to like tell them why you don't want to travel or but it's possible. Like there were some people in my class who just stayed in San Francisco the whole time. If you can provide like a valid reason for why you don't want to travel, then yeah, you don't have to like it could be financial. You could be like, I don't have the money, like I can't pay for flights or things like that. But for the most part, I initially was like, I don't know if I really want to travel. Like, but honestly, I'm so grateful that I did. I feel like it was, yeah, an amazing decision. Truly one of the best. Yeah.
I would take that offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to get into Minerva?
Mm,
What advice would you give them?
yeah. Um, I feel like the one thing is just apply, like, because I feel like immediately people hear about the acceptance rate, they're like, even once I heard about it, I was like, maybe I shouldn't apply. And it was just one day I was sitting at home and I was like, okay, well, I'm not really doing anything. I might as well. So I feel like that's the one, like, just apply. It really doesn't hurt. You don't lose anything. You might as well. And also, like, I don't know, there's really no way to prepare for the challenges or like the admissions. Like they wanted it that way so that you can't prepare for it like you would an exam. They just want to see how you think as a person. So I feel like maybe that's also
Natural stuff.
yeah, exactly. Who are you naturally? So maybe that's a comfort. Maybe that's also scary. I don't know. But at least it's good to remember that there's yeah, literally come as you are. There's nothing you can do. So let that be a comfort, I guess. And also, like I mentioned this before, but still, like if you can phrase things in a way that shows you're creative, that shows you can problem solve, that shows like you think about problems that people encounter and then you want to help them solve it. It's like that. I feel like that's part of what the school looks for. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of this video. Sumi, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so grateful. I'm sorry, like I know it was since last year we'll be trying to
No, it's okay.
October.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even remember, but it was sometime October or November.
It's okay.
So, man, I'm like super. Thank you for your patience. I think that's one thing I have to thank you for. Like, thank you for your patience with this whole process. I don't know when this video is going to be up, but
Okay, whatever.
Because this video really needs to be out there. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And Sumi's YouTube channel, the name is right on your screen, and the link will be in the description box below, and maybe the card will also be on top. So feel free to go subscribe to her channel, follow her, and she's about to start her PhD. So go follow. And Sumi, thank you again. Do you have anything?
Thank you. No, I love your channel. I mentioned before, but I really do. So thank you for what you do. It's super helpful.
All right. Thank you, guys. Goodbye. See you again later. Bye, guys.